Hey all, welcome to day 17 of Advent of Elixir. Today I'm going to show you how to make a generalized dispatch system inside of a protocol module. This is maybe something you've thought of doing, especially if you write a lot of protocols, and it may not have been entirely obvious how you're supposed to do this, or even if you should be doing this at all. This is going to require a lot of components in flight, so let's just go right into it and talk about what's going on. In a previous video, I showed you what's going on under the hood in protocols, so if you want to understand a little bit of that, I recommend watching that video, and I'll link to that below. So in this project, what I've done is I've created a protocol named Advent. And Advent is just going to have one function called count. That'll just keep things pretty simple. And I've created two modules, A and B, which have implemented the Advent module. Here we've got, for the A module, we've got the count, which will take the A field of the A struct and just return that. And likewise, for the B module, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the B field in the B struct and return that as the count. So this is very basic stuff. It's not entirely complicated. I know there's a lot of single letter stuff flying around, but I'm just doing this to make this as simple as possible. So let's go ahead and run this code. And I'm just going to demonstrate what that looks like. So suppose I take advent.count, and then I do A1. We're going to see that retrieve the value 1. And if I conversely make a B, and let's just make BB2, that's going to return 2. How does this work? Because Advent is a protocol, it will know which modules have implementations for Advent, and it will, when you pass it a struct of the respective value, it will go ahead and dispatch to the correct implementation. So in the case of when we pass it an A struct, it's going to call this function. And if we pass it a B struct, as in the second example, it's going to execute this function. Now I've also implemented something else called FromMap. And this is going to be representative of a hypothetical situation where we're taking some JSON value. It's been a JSON encoded, or it was a JSON encoded map. It's gotten decoded by the JSON library. And now we're going to convert it into one of these modules. So let's do a.fromMap. And then in this case, we're going to give it the JSON encoded value A1. And it's going to give us exactly what we expect, which is the A1 struct. Likewise, we can do b.fromMap and give it the B1. And we're going to get the B1 module. However, we're going to run into a problem, and that is, wouldn't it be nice if we could guarantee that all of the Advent types have this sort of from map, and we could just dispatch that manually to the correct module from map. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. In theory, we want something that looks like this: def from map, and then map do, and then case map do. If it's got an A with anything in it, we're going to dispatch this to a.fromMap. And then if it's got a B, then b.from. Now, what you might also do is if you're transcoding some sort of JSON and importing that into your Elixir code, you might have, like, say, a type field that you can match on, and that will explicitly tell you either go to A or B. Or you could have some sort of characteristic signature of what the structure looks like. That's what I'm matching on here. But however you do it, you might want to have a common function that will send a generic JSON to whatever module you want. And for organizational purposes, it might make sense to put it inside of your protocol. But what happens if we try to recompile this? We're going to get an error. And the problem is that there is no way to do a normal def function inside of a def protocol. Def protocol has lost the capability of creating a normal def function. So what we need to do is we need to restore that functionality. And here is how you do it. We're going to use the import statement. And we're going to tell it to no longer import anything from protocol. And we're going to do import kernel, which will restore the context, this internal context, to have the normal kernel imports. Remember, def is nothing special. It's just a macro. And so that macro lives inside of the kernel module, right? And so here we should be able to go ahead and restore the normal def macro and having ablated the weird def macro that came with the fact that it's a protocol. Okay, so now let's recompile this. And it works. And if we do advent FromMap on the A, we're going to get exactly what we expect, and now we can pipe this into advent.count. Likewise, if we want to do a B one, that also works. And of course, if we just did advent FromMap B, it will marshal to the correct, it will dispatch to the correct B module. So remember that protocols are just modules, as I pointed out in the previous video. And this is how you can define normal functions that don't necessarily dispatch based on the type, but actually just do what their internal code is. This is a very, very dangerous superpower that you have in Elixir. I strongly recommend that you only use this for good. Okay, hope that was interesting and or useful to you. I will see you tomorrow.